Before we get started, a brief reminder that any and all opinions and views shared by hosts and guests on this podcast are the speaker's own and do not represent the views of Primal Kitchen or its affiliates or parent company.
For weight loss, there is the train of thought of being in a calorie deficit. True. But if you have underlying issues that you're not aware of, if you do have hormonal issues, calorie deficit is the worst thing for you and the worst thing for weight loss. You have to take care of your wellness first. Make sure you are well. Make sure you have the ability to move and get strong, and then the weight loss comes. You can't start with weight loss being the core element because you'll probably end up taxing yourself.
Hi, friends. I have Mary here. We've known each other for how long?
Just under 10 years?
10 years. Yeah, I would say about that.
Jeez Louise.
And she is an old, close friend and an epic human being, especially in the nutrition space. So we're going to talk today, it's a quick one, a lot about performance nutrition for athletes,
Yeah.
actresses,
High
people
performers.
with high performers.
Pe-
Okay, so what I want to know is I don't even know this. How did you even get into this, doing this for this consulting, chefing?
Which, by the way, if I'm looking at my phone, I'm not being rude to Morgan. I'm actually texting with my athletes. How did I get into performance nutrition? Sick most of my life, made pain my normal, like just made peace with it. And then it wasn't until 25, one of my last ER visits for migraines, not wanting to get the IV of morphine yet again, which would give me a horrible hangover and anxiety with it. Just trying to get more into the details of like, can someone just explain to me what is happening with a migraine? Like, what's the mechanism causing a migraine? Which none of the doctors were equipped to answer that
I
question.
feel like no one knows that.
They were like,
They still don't know that.
they were like frustrated with my questioning.
Yeah.
And so I left the ER in a very dramatic fashion and decided to go on a quest of just understanding my body and my functions and sending out my own lab work. And what came back was that I had celiac disease, but also an intolerance to casein and soy. And here I am living my whole life not knowing that these three things actually cause a lot of damage in my body. And by changing my diet over the course of a few months, everything that ever bothered me went away. And it's its own little fun story, which I'm going to be like respectful of the time we have right now without going into the deeper, longer story. But I was asked by some colleagues, what are you doing differently with your diet? Because you're not in pain anymore. You look great, et cetera, et cetera. At that time, the word paleo was becoming really popular. So it's easier to say, oh, I'm following a paleo diet than saying I'm not eating casein, soy, and gluten.
Yeah.
Because mind you, back then, there was no Siete. There was no gluten-free pasta. Like I would go to the store and be like, "Oh my god, there's fucking this shit in
Yeah. You have to
everything."
make,
Everything I
make
would be
everything
making my
homemade.
own
Yeah.
fusilli and all that. So, it was just easier to say paleo. And, I got asked by those people to, potentially do the cooking for them as well. And because the word paleo was becoming popular at the time, I bought Personal Paleo Chef and Paleo Personal Chef as a URL. And so if any athlete or entertainer was looking for a personal paleo chef, the word becoming popular, I was the one that popped up. And they would think that they're hiring a private chef. And I would go in there and be like, I need your blood, your stool, your hair. They're like, whoa, what is this? I go, this is personalized nutrition. This is designing what's going to work for you. And by virtue of being different and getting really detailed, those initial people that found me online turned into high ticket referrals. And so I'm very lucky that I only had to go lead genning for myself for maybe a month, 2 months, and then it turned into all inbound. And then you have entertainers and athletes and these CEOs all seeing return on that. And so then that's where,
It's just grown.
yeah, performance chef extraordinaire has
Interesting.
come from. But that's the start.
I love it. And tell us, I know you have a pretty like confidential client list, but who have you worked with and like what have you accomplished? Like tell me some of your best success stories and how what you like. Yeah, I want to know how they got there.
Uh, so I resident consultant at Nike, did a couple of really big engagements for them. And so almost every athlete that falls underneath the Nike hat is someone that I've interfaced with. Um, 2022 NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors.
Love it.
I don't work with the Warriors, but I have a few players on the team. Actually, Andre Iguodala was just on my podcast, one of my clients. More public about Kayvon Looney, a couple other ones are I'm really it's not always that I have an NDA, it's like I don't really talk about my clients unless they talk about me first,
Yeah.
and what's interesting is that other clients pick up on that, and they're like, "She's really about her craft, not
Yeah.
about our status." So I
Yeah.
think that's why I get the kind of clients that I do. But other ones that are public are like Lupita Nyong'o prepared her for Black Panther 2 in A Quiet Place. We went into detail about what performance nutrition did for her there. Worked with, Chicharito, he's a soccer player, during one of his best
So
seasons.
what are you actually doing? Are you cooking and putting a program
All
together?
of
You're
it.
helping them get
Yeah.
healthy, like
So the core lane is performance nutrition. So we run all the labs, and the labs are being done with different doctors and specialists. We drill down into what do they need for nutrition on a micronutrient level? What do they need for nutrition on their off day, their on day, their active recovery day, days that they need to be more cognitively focused? Like it is everything they eat, they drink, they supplement is programmed with a team. And then I'm the one that's leading, actually facilitating that being executed, but then also depending on the client, acting as their personal performance director, their personal wellness director of like, okay, we've got nutrition in place. How's your recovery? Do we need to put together a recovery program? All right, we need to get you an acupuncturist. Let me find the acupuncturist that wants to be part of this team and
yeah.
understand what we're doing. Do you need a therapist? Let's find that out because to me, all the pillars are connected and everyone needs to be on board. And I think by virtue of how I said during the hospital stay, I'm very curious and investigative. And so, like, just run everything through Mary because she's going to ask the question I'm not
Yeah,
think to
yeah.
ask, and I'm only going
Totally.
to let the best in their sphere. So I get in and am referred to as that core lane of nutrition, but I am looked to as a performance specialist because I'll pull in other people because outside of what it is I know I excel at, I also know what I don't know and only wanna investigate and find the best
Yeah.
people to be a part of that. So that way our athletes or entertainer, they only have to focus on being an athlete or being an entertainer,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Okay, tell me about your diet philosophy.
Paleo.
Okay. I love that.
What works for me may not work for you. What works today may not work in 6 months. I'm heavy on lab work. Like, just I understand how you feel about this diet or that diet, or I understand this guru said carnivore is great, or this person's pushing the plant-based diet. Let's just look at what your labs say. And I think there's levels to it. So if you're someone who maybe hasn't had a traditionally healthy lifestyle, following a healthy diet in terms of, less processed food, less sugars, cutting alcohol, sleeping better, and moving, you are going to feel better. And if you want to take it one step further, let's do some comprehensive labs and see where your hormones at. Let's take it another step further and see where your nutrient levels are at. And you could do that once a year and be great. If you want to take it even further, it's now let's be more deliberate about how you're eating on days that you have big meetings or how you're eating on
So
days that
give
you're
me some examples of like how you would switch things up, like specifics for performance or recovery or cognitive benefits.
for an everyday person or for an athlete because
Oh,
it's different.
okay. Well, for an everyday person.
An everyday person, you don't have to get too complicated. It's finding out what is gonna support your activity level for the day. So if you are training more that day, if you're a really active person, you just wanna make sure that you're fueling enough. I think most people undereat, not overeat
Yeah.
because they're doing a
Interesting.
restrictive diet. Like I'll ask people, "Do you need coffee in the afternoon, or did you just not eat enough and not drink enough water?"
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
you think you're tired, but are you tired or are you just malnourished?
Yeah.
And are you getting a good spectrum of diversification in your diet? Because 'Cause I'm really big on getting your nutrients from food first and then supplementing only when you need to supplement.
Yeah.
That's why they're called supplements. And I'm a big person of you probably need breakfast. Intermittent fasting is great. I intermittent fast sometimes, but I also don't do it all the time. It's based on how I feel. Intermittent fasting I have found is not ideal for women. So getting some protein in the morning, it sounds almost redundant and reductive because as we've talked about before, how many more people do you need telling you to eat enough, eat diverse foods, sleep well, and move? And if you look at my diet personally,
Yeah.
people are like, wow, you eat really clean. I go, I just eat whole foods. Like, it's so interesting to me that that's like anytime I'm checking out at Whole Foods or the grocery store, the checker is always like, there's a lot of healthy stuff here. I'm like, it's just food.
It's just like vegetables and
It's just
meat, what we've
food.
been eating for
Yeah. It's not that complicated. So the foods I find that I enjoy for myself is I always have some sort of protein, whether it's salmon, sea bass, bison. I think chicken is stupid.
Not a chicken lover.
No, it's like protein, but, like, what else am I getting out of it?
Yeah.
It's enjoyable, but, not my go-to protein. And then I love leafy greens, so dandelion greens, chard, and, collard greens are my leafy greens. I don't really do well with cruciferous. Beets all day, every day,
Interesting.
shiitake mushrooms, hemp seeds, avocado a day.
Oh,
Keeps
yeah.
the glow, um, and those foods on repeat work really well for me, but I also use a lot of different spices because again, there's micronutrients in spices, and I don't try to overthink it. Everyone wants that prescriptive something, and it's not that complicated, and maybe it's so not complicated that we haven't done a good job of just making it simple and straightforward. Unless it's shiny and, like, restrictive, people don't tend to listen.
Well, and there's so many marketers, like, packaging up
Yeah.
these restrictive diets and selling them to
Yeah.
us that I think people feel like if I'm not on some thing I bought.
If I'm not miserable, then I'm
Yeah,
not seeing a
yeah, there's
difference. Like,
that.
you don't have to suffer through it. So, something that I do with my clients that someone might misconstrue as restrictive or detox, something I do that I put out also for Gen Pop is everybody goes through a gut reset phase. And it is a restrictive week. And it's a restrictive week for the purpose of doing investigation. So I do a gut reset because before you come on as a client, I don't know what your diet and lifestyle is like. And I don't know how you respond to certain foods. I don't know how you respond to essentially like letting your system do what it needs to do. So it's 3 days of a very specific bone broth recipe, and you put olive oil in it. You can have as much as you want. And then the next 4 days are repeating foods. So it's still fasting mimicking, but it's nutrient dense foods like liver, big promoter of
Yeah,
liver. Liver King, please go away and stop
yeah,
making my life so difficult.
yeah,
To me, that's like a really great multivitamin. It's not going to get you jacked for the
yeah.
record, but it's a really great
But
multivitamin.
steroids will. Oh.
They sure will. um, and so it's got liver, hemp seeds, avocado, salmon, Japanese yams, but they're all coursed out in a certain way. And during that week, you're supposed to document how you feel every day, how you slept, what your stool is like, how you feel, how you respond to these foods. So you start to learn about your body. And then after that week, you start to reintroduce food groups. And what I have found is people will lose anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds in a week. And that's where I tell them you're not losing weight. You having an inflammatory response and you reduce the inflammation. And the more inflammation you lose, this is a case to say like, "Hey, there's something else going on in your lifestyle that wasn't
Interesting.
working."
Yeah,
And so after we do that week, then we run labs. I'm like, "Okay, now that we've sort of gotten buy-in, there's a psychological aspect to it. You've gotten buy-in. You see what it's like having a diet that's really clean and really particular for a week. Let's do labs and then see how to dial your nutrition for your own health moving forward." And my clients and I will revisit this after long bouts of travel or after the holidays. Essentially just reset. And it's not reset doing juices for 7 days, it's doing, like, nutrient-dense foods and then
yeah.
going back into their normal programming. And I really want people to understand how their body responds to food and then to understand maybe you don't need to know every little detail of like if you're an athlete, no, I don't need you to worry about are you hydrating 7 days before the game and are we doing altitude adjustment? Are we getting our saffron in for 6 days before we go to altitude? All that stuff. But if you happen to know saffron helps with the blood flow in your body and you happen to know that saffron helps with mood, then as an everyday person, you're like, I want to make saffron tea because it's going to help bring oxygen to my brain. It's going to help elevate my mood. You just know this, or you're like,
Interesting. I didn't know
avocado,
that
I know
about
it's for
saffron.
oh, yeah, saffron to me is an unsung hero.
Really?
I know it's a super expensive spice, little goes a long way, and it
Saffron tea. I've never even heard of that. I can just buy that somewhere.
you
Or
can also
what is
just
that?
buy the saffron leaves
And
or
put it
the
in your
saffron
water.
flowers and just put that,
Interesting.
there's a I forget where it comes from, but there's a story about how these nuns were using a lot of saffron and discovered it put them in a good mood, and the church banned them from using it
Stop it.
anymore because they thought they were getting high.
Stop it.
Isn't that wild?
God. Okay. Church. And
Uh,
more nuns. Okay.
so just knowing the impact of foods. And, like, to me, all these spices are normal because I grew up in, an Egyptian home. Spice rack is bussin',
Yeah.
but there's also something to be said about all the nutrient density and all these different foods I grew up with. So to me, it's a staple. To other people, are like, "Oh, you have such exotic spices," and I'm like,
It's
"What?"
just what you're used to, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but
What are some other little tips like the saffron tea and the elevation?
uh
Like, if I'm going on a ski trip, I should be drinking saffron tea. It helps with the altitude adjustment.
Getting there, yeah, beet juice.
Oh, beet
I
juice,
would
okay.
do 4 to 6 ounces of beet juice for a week leading up to it, and I would throw saffron in that. Cordyceps also helps with that. So you would do that leading up to it, and then you would maintain that when you're there. You would limit sugar, alcohol, eat avocado, and continue that, and it will help with your adjustment there.
Interesting. Okay, what other things? What other hacks like that?
What
Okay, immune system.
immune black seed oil,
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about that nauseum. So, when it comes to immune system, first off, what are you doing right? What are you purposely not including in your diet that helps strengthen your immune system? So, getting a good sleep, making sure you're not drinking every single day, eating, like, nutritionally dense foods. But if you want to support it even further, black cumin seed oil, Nigella sativa. In ancient Egypt, it was known to cure everything but death,
I love this.
which is not true.
You've been a fan of this forever,
Since I was a
like
child, it's a
yeah,
part of my
okay, yeah,
culture. Like, we preserve lemons, stuffing it with black seeds, it goes into our salads, and the oil in there has a compound called thioquinone, and it's an really powerful anti-inflammatory. People can replace or have replaced their arthritis medication with black seed oil, and it's an antiviral, antibacterial, great against SIBO, like, it has all these other uses for it. It's been studied, it's been in double blind studies. I'm over here thinking I'm an idiot savant, like, "Whoa, this is so
yeah.
cool." So what I tend to do in my practice is I'm leveraging the different spices and the different herbs and the micronutrients that I know are helpful, and then noticing this empirical, like, evidence, like, "This is so interesting this is happening among clients," even though I believe it to be so, and then I'm like, "Let's go reverse engineer why this is happening." And then I find out these things. I'm like, great, this is staying in the repertoire. This is now becoming like a standard in the eat, play, crush, whatever protocol. So black seed oil, big fan of that. And then things that people overlook with their immune system is, are you getting enough vitamin D? Are you getting enough zinc? Are you
Yeah,
getting enough lysine? L-lysine is known as the amino acid for cold sores.
yeah.
Well, why do you get a cold sore? Because your immune system is down. So why are you taking L-lysine to help mitigate the L-arginine, but also to strengthen your immune system? So when we're traveling with our athletes or entertainers, we're upping our L-lysine dose too to help with their immune
I'm
system.
obsessed with monolaurin. Have you heard of
No.
monolaurin? It's like does the same thing as L-lysine, but like I 3 kids under 5. Adam will get sick. Like I am notoriously the one that like everyone goes down, like I'm going down, and Adam used to be like the one who would never get anything. And
Yeah.
now the last few times, like Adam had the flu, I took care of the whole family, never got sick. I take 6 pills of monolaurin,
Yeah.
like 3 in the morning, 3 at night. It's derived from coconut, but it's like a natural
Every single
antiviral.
day?
It's an antiviral. Like, if there's
Okay.
a virus going through
Yeah.
your house, I don't know, I swear by this monolaurin, you gotta look it up.
I will look it up.
Yeah,
I'll be really curious.
but I feel like similar people use L-lysine in, like, a similar way,
Yeah,
but you should look up monolaurin.
I
I
will.
swear by that. I mean, it's the only supplement that, like, I go through and reorder
Yeah,
frequent
okay.
frequently. Yeah.
But, I mean, have you done more digging or you're just like, "I'm a believer"?
I'm a believer. I don't know what data there is. I heard about it
Yeah,
from, like, a functional medicine doctor
yeah,
in Santa Monica
yeah,
who, like, is functional medicine doctor to the stars, and it was,
yeah,
like, his favorite cold and flu treatment, and I've, like
yeah,
you take all these things, you hear them, but you're like,
mhm,
"What actually, like, works?" That one.
yeah,
That's my one for you.
yeah. Thank you.
Anyway, okay. And I mean, zinc and vitamins like, zinc you can test easily in blood work, and vitamin D, I mean, I feel like that's such a people miss that one.
That's what blows my mind is, I guess unless you are a socially awkward, pale, pasty biohacker saying taking it, nobody takes it seriously. Like, say it's just we tend to overlook things until a certain guru says something, and then, like,
Yeah.
we'll pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So, like, people were over here concerned about the silliest of things, and I'm like, "Have you just started eating better?"
Yeah.
Like,
We're majoring in the minors. A
100%.
lot of majoring in the
I
minors.
when people ask me those questions in the AMAs, it's hard for me not to eye roll, and I don't mean to be condescending when I eye
Yeah.
roll, but I'm like, "You're asking about the most obscure supplement. Did you go drinking last night?"
Yeah.
Like
No, I hear you. I think there's a lot of it's a lot it's easy to get, like, swept up in these little, like, buzzy things.
Yeah. I think people waste a lot of money on supplements without fixing something else. Like, you're wasting so much money. There is, I'm spacing on who said this, I'll try to remember it maybe if you have shown it to include it. but this, functional naturopath said America has the most expensive urine.
Oh, that's good. I learned
Maggie said it.
I
Oh, urine.
learned just from, like I mean, we consume 50% of the world's supplement consumption in North America.
And we're the most
I
unhealthy
mean, we
society.
are the supplement market. Like, if you were gonna go launch a supplement company, they would be like, "What's your North America volume?" Like, they don't care about selling supplements to other countries because we buy so many of them. But there are some interesting studies, like, Rhonda Patrick just had one study that was like multivitamin prevents dementia by, like, whatever, reduces your risk of dementia by 20% or something like that. Don't quote me on this, but there's some,
Sure.
I don't know. So,
So
I'm a
multivitamin,
supplement junkie.
yeah, so there's multivitamins, which I think are great for a lot of people because 'cause they're not eating
Yeah.
really great. And then there's things like those powders that have, like, 100 different micronutrient
Yeah.
I hate those. I
Yeah,
absolutely
I
hate those
agree.
because one person's, superfood can be another person's kryptonite, and
Yeah.
if you don't know what's happening in your body, like, a multivitamin's a catch-all. These ones that have 80 different ingredients are trying to be a catch-all, but they're doing too much, and it could be at the detriment if you don't know what's going on with your blood work.
Yeah.
And I think something a lot of people forget is when you go to a doctor, they work for you. If your doctor doesn't wanna run the labs for you, please fire them and
I
find a new
know.
doctor. I know it's exhausting to, like, go through, like, "I gotta find another doctor," but once you find the right doctor,
Makes a big
it's
difference.
for life.
I know. I know. There's a definite power dynamic with doctors and a fear of, like, asking for what you want, and you go in there, like, with your tail between your legs, and you're just nervous, and yeah,
You're
it's a whole
you
thing.
you're the lead in there. You
Yeah,
go in there, you're
and
like, "This is what's
you're
going
the
on."
customer. They
Yeah.
work for you. I'm with you. Okay, what other, like, foods are your favorite for specific things? We talked about immunity, we talked about altitude.
Mhm.
What about, like
Yeah,
how do you
selfishly, what
feel
do you wanna know about?
I'm curious, like, weight loss.
For foods? Because no
Yeah,
one
like
food is gonna make you
I
lose
know, but do you
weight.
have any, like are you, prescribing to this? Like, I feel like protein's really having a moment right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Really, like, it's
Yeah.
really making a comeback.
Yeah.
And this is my opinion, and you tell me what you think
Yeah.
about this, but, like, everyone is wearing the '90s jeans,
Yes.
and they're wearing the '90s shoes, and we're wearing, like, the '90s crop tops.
Yeah.
And also, we are taking the '90s supplements. Like, creatine is
Yeah.
what the football team took when I was in high school
To
in the
blow up.
'90s,
To blow
and
up.
now I'm putting creatine in my coffee in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
it has neurological benefits. I
Yeah.
feel like these things that are just like creatine's really well studied. I mean,
Yeah.
whey protein is
100%.
really, really well
I don't like
studied.
whey
I
protein.
know you have a dairy thing, but,
Yeah.
like,
None of my athletes use it during the season.
what do they use?
Beef isolate.
Yeah,
Because here's the thing,
I agree.
a
I That's what I
protein
take.
powder is a supplement. You should be getting your primary protein source from the food you eat, and we supplement as needed. So if you're having a beef isolate protein on your supplemental smoothie, who cares? It's
Fine.
great.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're probably tracing real meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
I don't know any athlete that is performing at a high level as a vegan. They might say they are, and I know factually
Yeah.
they're not. I've heard athletes who are plant-based athletes say, I'm just vegan for the camera." You
Yeah.
are doing us a disservice.
I know.
But yeah, protein's having a moment. Um, and then everyone will just regurgitate them. Make sure you get enough protein. Yes, get adequate protein. It is a great thing to have on your plate, but it's not the only thing you should have on your
Yeah.
plate. Like if I am gonna eat food, the way I eat food is I eat my leafy greens or my salad first, and it has some sort of homemade citrus or vinaigrette. Then I go into my protein, then I go into my carbs because that is just the way I was taught to eat my meal.
Yeah.
It's the way we've coursed meals since the dawn of time,
Yeah.
and then everyone went keto, and then just carnivore, and then plant-based, and here we are all the way back to eat a balanced diet, have
I
your
know.
salad first, have your protein, have
Remember
your
when, like,
carbs.
jerf was trending, just eat
Yes,
real food?
yes.
I kinda, like, wish that took off more.
Sean Cruxton.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel like that's just, like, we've really overcomplicated this thing.
I
Like,
s
it's not that hard.
I said the other day in a post, and, my friend was like, "You gotta put that on, like, the podcast sweater or something," which is like, "Welcome to the unreasonably reasonable corner of the internet."
Yeah.
If you don't wake up at 4 AM and say all your biohacking hymns, you're not a failure. Like,
No,
it's
like, these
okay.
morning routines, I'm like, these people definitely don't have a job or kids. Like, I wake
or a
up, I
personality.
like do a sound bath, I meditate for 45 minutes, and then I have my lemon water, and then I have my this concoction, and I'm just like, "Oh my god."
Sometimes I wake up and it's straight to my phone because I know screen time in the morning, taboo.
Yeah.
But it's like I have clients in different time zones. Like
Yeah.
if I have clients who are at an away game in New York City, I got to get to the hotel
Yeah.
before they wake up and like make sure we got all the meals
Yeah.
figured out. I got clients in the UK. I'll be waking up at odd hours of the night to like have a call. Or when I had to fly, I had 36 hours notice to be in the UK to cook a month's worth of food in 4 days in the middle of the NBA season. So I flew to the UK, already disoriented, making these meals, then getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning in the UK to watch my athletes play and be able to text with them about how they're feeling and what they're going to do for meals. That would make a morning routine person like, oh,
Totally,
error 404.
totally,
Like,
I know.
where's the adaptability? Where's the
Yeah.
metabolic flexibility? Like,
Yeah.
have your habits that you stack upon, but also have the ability to like pivot when needed. And then don't feel like a failure and definitely don't go on social media and make other people feel like they're failing because they're not
Yeah.
doing it right. But for weight loss, there is the train of thought of it, being a calorie deficit. True. But if you have underlying issues that you're not aware of, if you do have hormonal issues, if you have an autoimmune issue, if you have a nervous system issue, calorie deficit is the worst thing for you and the worst thing for weight loss. Like, you have to take care of your wellness first. Make sure you are well, make sure you have the ability to move and get strong, and then the weight loss comes. You can't start with weight loss being the core element because 'cause you'll probably end up taxing yourself.
Yeah.
And then weight loss for whom? Is it for yourself? Is it for health issues? Is it for aesthetic issues?
Yeah.
So there's all those different elements, and I know that sometimes people don't like the response, "It depends." But
It
it
really
does
does.
depend,
Yeah.
and I won't be the person to help you with that.
What about, like, hormones as we're getting older? Do you do anything with diet for that or you're
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of stuff with hormones.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Woke up at 39, I'm like,
I
"Whoa,
know.
can't
They're
believe all
hitting
that."
hard. Those hormones are hitting
Yeah.
hard as we get into our 40s here.
But it's still the same thing of, like, we gotta see your specific hormones and what's going on there, and it becomes imperative as you get older to prioritize protein 100%. It
Yeah.
becomes imperative to limit alcohol, to limit sugars. Liver is a catch-all. That to me is a multivitamin in
Yeah.
itself, and, sometimes checking also taking it a step further and doing gene mutations, checking for gene mutations.
Yeah.
Are you having a hormonal imbalance? Or are you having a conversion imbalance? And
Interesting.
you might need something intravenously that you will never get from food because of your specific makeup.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that these labs and testing facilities are becoming more commonly spoken about and therefore becoming more accessible because these conversations I never heard of 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, there's a lot more you can do now.
Yeah, gut health was so fringe, and it still is kind of fringe in the sports world. It's becoming more popular as more prominent players are more open about how much money and time they spend into their nutrition. But it still is like when I talk about gut health and more advanced testing, I get the heavy eye roll, and I'm like, cool, cool, cool. You're not my client, but these guys are, so we're gonna take care of this.
I know it's all paleo you and, like, personalized, but are there, like, 3 things you feel like are ubiquitous that you do for all your high performance athletes?
Um, as far as like specific foods, because
Yeah, or
I'll
like
say this, like everyone's different, but guess what they all have in common? They eat whole foods.
yeah, okay.
They limit, well, in season, no gluten, no dairy, no soy. Some clients are completely grain free during the season. It's just helping with their joints and longevity.
Inflammation.
Yes, it is. Basically, they're following an AIP diet. Like instead of making pasta sauce with tomatoes, I'll make them like a red pepper, a roasted red pepper sauce. So we go AIP in the season because we're
And for
trying to.
people listening who don't know, tell them what
Oh,
AIP is.
autoimmune protocol.
Yep.
So really low inflammatory foods, which I get can sound boring if you look at it on the list like, "Oh crap, all these foods you can't have." You can be very creative with it, it just takes more time. So in season, all athletes are pretty paleo. Some of them will get,
But I mean, the AIP protocol is like, no garlic, right?
I will do cooked garlic, not raw garlic.
Okay.
So I'll it's autoimmune protocol like adjacent, but I
Got
do
it.
try to
Okay.
remove as many
But
inflammatory
no
foods as possible.
nightshades, no eggplant, right?
No eggplant. We will do things like tomatoes. If on off days, we won't do them leading up to a game. We definitely won't do them before a game. There's the same meals, a lot of consistency.
What do you do before a game?
Depends on the athlete. Um, There's one athlete who loves jerk chicken, and so I'm not gonna take away their joy, and I just prepare it a certain way where they get their plantains, quinoa for them, black beans, and the chicken, and that's an earlier in the day meal. Like, if there's a early game, we won't do a traditional breakfast, we'll do a more hearty breakfast. Another athlete is more, general with it, salmon, quinoa, and, the other thing that's really important before games or day of games is all the food is either shredded or really mushy because I wanna optimize digestion.
Got it. You don't want them wasting energy digesting food.
Yes, like, we're trying to get as much of that work done for them beforehand. And then every client has their own custom pre-workout game drink, and it's not caffeine focused, it's cognitive function focused. So you've got lion's mane and beets and saffron, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that has athletes drinking liver before a game.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like raw liver?
Desiccated, put in their
Oh,
in
got it.
their
Okay.
in their drinks. It's always fun when you have what I love about working with athletes specifically is they're so aware of their body,
Yeah.
so they notice any little
Yeah,
difference.
totally.
And so they buy into nutrition, and then in game, they'll notice a difference. They're like, "I think this really works." Like,
Yeah.
I remember there was one athlete in the middle of the match said to me afterwards, is like, "In the middle of the dribbling, I could see the other people around me. I could feel myself what I'm gonna," he was like, I thought to myself, whatever Mary gave me, like, I'm really locked
Yeah.
in. And I had another athlete who I won't give you the drink right away, like, we'll work up to a drink, and I was like, "Hey, this drink's really gonna help with focus today, and this is how I want you to take it." And this is a player who generally is not someone who closes out a game, and was just in a great position, and I'll have it forever etched in my mind where it's like the announcer is like, "Looney, no. Looney, no. Looney, yes. Looney, yes." And, like,
Yeah.
everyone's freaking out. We win the game, and I get a text right after the game of a picture of the drink, and it's like, "I think this helped me."
Yeah.
And what I love to show athletes is, like, it's not magic on my end. I'm just listening to your chemistry and actually showing you your potential.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea how great you can be when we remove any variable of noise and optimize for the best case scenario. And I like to use athletes as the aspirational buy-in for Gen Pop to then be like, "Hey, I know I can't have everyone as a client, but you can pay attention to what I'm sharing and doing and implement that for
Yeah.
yourself."
Okay, what are your top 3 favorite meals that you make?
You know the saying, "The painter's house gets painted last."
Okay, make for other people.
'Cause I love scrambled eggs because it's easy.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you on that.
Um, because it's so personalized, there's not top 3, like, my client that loved jerk chicken, I'm always gonna make him jerk
I know.
chicken. I have another
Tell me
client
some other rest Can I
that
find some recipes anywhere?
they want me to do a cookbook, they being my
But
agency.
didn't you have some online?
I have the Gut Reset that has some recipes on the back end. There's 2 websites, eatplaycrush.com and paleochef.com with recipes. Um, I mean, like, I've been flown out for the shepherd's pie. It Tim Ferriss even said it would be his last meal. He
Okay.
said it in an interview, "What would your last meal be?" He said, "A caribou shepherd's pie," and I'm like, "I made that. That's
Yeah.
mine, so dope."
Yes.
I've been flown, like I said, to Chicago just to make a shepherd's pie and be sent back home. I'm like,
That's
and
crazy.
that was somebody else. I was like, "This is a really expensive
Yeah,
shepherd's pie, you
it looks
guys."
super expensive, yeah.
Um, uh, my pomegranate pork belly people really enjoy, and this is
Yeah.
going more into, like, enjoyment rather than just
Yeah, that's what I
performance.
wanna know. I kinda wanna know
Um,
enjoyment.
the, people love the granola. It's a baklava granola as a snack. My spanakopita, which my mother's recipe, so I feel like that's gonna crush every single
Yeah,
time.
I love it.
Chorizo chili, bison
Yum.
chili. Oh, you guys posted the bison chili on Primal Kitchen a long time
I
ago.
love it.
Yeah, that was
You
really
made one time for me and Adam, just, like, at our house. Sweet potatoes was stuffed with, like, tuna salad,
Oh,
and we,
that's
like,
right, the
chopped
tahini tuna.
yeah, and we chopped, like, I don't know, we even put, like, spinach or something in there,
Yeah.
and it was, like, Mediterranean, like, we didn't I don't even think we used mayonnaise.
No,
Like,
it's tahini.
it's yeah, and olive oil,
Yeah,
and, like, Adam still
yeah.
asks for that. He's still like, "Wow, that was really good. Can
Yeah,
we
I don't
make
like
that again?"
mayonnaise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, it's okay.
My
It's a
favorite.
polarizing food. It's a polarizing food.
But, that's so funny that we did that too because, wasn't I, like, formulating? We were messing around and trying to
Yeah,
like remember that time you guys asked to do formulas, and I think I busted out, like, 12 formulas in a week, and we were at Mark's house, like,
yeah.
tasting all of it. That was fun.
I know, those were the good old
Yeah,
days.
that was a lot
Yeah,
of fun. I was kinda sad because some of my favorite ones didn't make the
I
cut.
know.
The umami one was, like, killer.
Yeah, we had, like early on, it was hard, like, when you're launching, I feel like It's
choosing one
hard
is
to go well,
ideal.
it's also hard to go esoteric, like, you
Yeah,
almost need to be just,
yeah,
like, disrupting ranch dressing
right,
and not disrupting, like,
right.
the, you know, 26th best-selling flavor SKU that no one's gonna you
No,
need a big market.
I get. I'm
When you're
brown.
when
I
you're
was like umami
I
Mediterranean.
know, I know. That was good, like, business advice I got early on. Like,
Yeah,
you're already disruptive enough having avocado oil in your
right,
mayonnaise, like,
right,
don't make it.
right.
Don't overcomplicate it. But anyway, I mean, personally, I would love to have that SKU exist, but didn't make sense from a business perspective at the time. But okay, we're running out of time here, so I have to ask you my last question that I ask everyone. But
Oh,
what's
wow.
something most people don't know about you?
Oof. I was a hand model
What?
for one day for an Al Gore app that sold.
Really?
Yeah. The big joke among my friends is I love my hands. I think I have like beautiful hands. I love them. I always want them to like look a certain way. My nails would be filed a certain way.
Yeah.
So the whole joke was I should be a hand model. And then my friend who worked in advertising in San Francisco calls me frantically one day and she's like, "Please tell me you're working from home today." I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need? What's going on?" She's like, "Our hand model just dipped. It's
Stop
time."
it.
I'm like, "Oh my God, I'll be right there." So I get
This is
there
amazing.
and it was for an app, so it's video stuff. And I'm there like giddy because this is funny. I have to also remember that people take this it's a job.
Yeah.
So I'm in and I'm doing you have to sit in a certain way where it's uncomfortable off camera,
To
but on
get the
camera to get the
hands
shot.
right. Okay.
And then I get they center me in the shot. It's no different than like suddenly centering you in a video shot.
Yeah.
So they're centering my hands. I go, okay, now we want you to open this app and just sort of hold. So I go like this, and they go, can you do that again?
Stop
And
it.
I'm trying not to bust up
Yeah.
laughing. I look up at Brooke and she's like
Okay.
shaking, like,
Just
don't laugh, don't laugh, don't
pull
laugh.
it together. Pretend we
And
found you.
we, like, go through a bunch of different iterations and like, "Okay, wait, 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 we like how your leg is angled. Let's get your leg in there too." So I did a bunch of different variations for it, and I got a legitimate, like, check for it,
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
I
Is
was a
this
hand model.
like in Seinfeld episode?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And so it was so funny. They're like, you need to get like a not headshots, but whatever it is for your hands. Like you should
Yeah,
go take
hand
this
shots,
seriously.
yeah.
I find out that hand models can make $70,000 a year, which is not a little amount of money just to
Oh,
do that
that's
stuff.
yeah,
But you have to get your hands insured, you have to wear gloves, like all these things to protect the asset.
got
I
it,
was like, I
yeah,
could never do that.
yeah,
And but I took the check that I got and I just took all my friends out for drinks because it was ridiculous. We had a little like event, like we're gonna come and we're gonna spend this check on
yeah.
drinks. It was so
We're
great.
celebrating
Yeah.
this moment. I
So
love
I
it.
like to say I was once a hand model.
It's amazing. Okay, you told us a little bit about where we can find you, but give everyone info or where they can find out more.
Yeah,
Tell us again.
paleo chef on, Instagram, Twitter, refuse to call it anything else, and on all platforms outside of that. Eatplaycrush.com is my performance agency site, so you can find the Gut Reset, and then the podcast is called Eat Play Crush.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mary. This
thank
was
you.
great.